So you remember, guys, that last week we did a story about Pule Mabe, the former spokesperson of the ANC, and the fact that Pule Mabe and his wife have been accused of fraud. And personally, I was not happy about the interview that Pule Mabe did with Newsroom Africa. I honestly felt like Xolim Gambi was very lenient on Pule Mabe. I felt like there's a lot of things that Pule Mabe was hiding from the interview, and I was very happy to find out that I was not the only person who actually felt that way. So people were actually saying that, man, maybe Clement Manyathela needs to be the one that is sitting down with Pule Mabe. So guys, it looks like finally our wish has finally come true. But before we actually get to that, I want us to get to the backstory of what actually happened. So I am going to play a small part of last week's video so that we can get a context of what actually happened with Pule Mabe and his wife. The former ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe has come to his wife's defense, stating that the corruption charges against her were unfounded and misdirected. Mabe, his partner, and 5 co-accused appeared in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court on Wednesday, facing fraud and money laundering charges. The charges relate to a 27 million rand tender awarded to Mabe's company by the Gauteng Department of Agriculture in 2017 during his time as the Member of Parliament. The state claims the company did not disclose its connection to the former ANC spokesperson when submitting its bid for the tender. The state's indictment shows that Mabe's wife, Manyathela, was a director of Enviromobi, which secured 27 million rand tender to provide the city of Ekurhuleni with 200 tuk-tuks. It also indicates that after the tender was awarded, payments were made from companies' bank accounts into various accounts, including the one belonging to Manyathela. Manyathela is Pule Mabe's wife. Despite the state's allegations, Mabe asserted that there was no case against his wife. Then Mabe proceeded to say that we are being told today that it constitutes a crime to give our wives money and legitimately in business dealings. So we will hear how that becomes a crime. So guys, that is the backstory of what actually happened. And this is an ongoing case that Pule Mabe and his wife are still attending. But it looks like finally, guys, we are going to get our wish, because today, Clement Manyathela finally sat down with the former spokesperson of the ANC, Pule Mabe. Clement Manyathela finally did the probing that all of us were actually asking for. So guys, I hope that I am not going to interrupt this video a lot, because Clement Manyathela, what he's doing right now, he is doing the Lord's work.
Welcome back. Now, former ANC spokesperson and NEC member Pule Mabe has stepped down from the ANC NEC after being charged with fraud. Mabe and 6 others were released on a 30,000 rand bail after they appeared at the Johannesburg Specialized Commercial Crimes Court last week. They face a combined 16 counts of fraud, money laundering, and the contravention of the Public Finance Management Act. Mabe has since denied the charges. He's in studio with us tonight to speak more about this matter. Pule Mabe, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. Good evening.
Evening, and evening to your viewers.
So since your appearance in court last week, the SIU has come out to clarify some issues in this regard, especially this contract to Enviromobi, and they've characterized it, as you have seen, as irregular and as fraudulent. So
guys, I am so happy, man, for this interview. I was watching this interview earlier on today. And if only Xolim Gambi from Newsroom Africa was just 5% more tougher, man, Pule Mabe was going to squirm. But I like how Clement Manyathela is just going to squeeze him, and you're going to see Pule Mabe squirming live on television. This is so beautiful to see.
So I hope we can take it just one step at a time. I just want to first understand, when you're involved with the company, how many vehicles were delivered to the provincial government of Gauteng?
No, thanks, Clement, and evening once more to your viewers. Clement, and once more for inviting me to join you and talk more fully about my understanding and knowledge of this. 200 vehicles have been delivered to Suikerbos. 156 were delivered all at once. 4 of those vehicles were initially delivered as part of the launch that took place in Tembisa in 2017. But of course, there's been numerous times where EnviroMobi would have reached out to the department to take delivery of the vehicles. The department at the time did not take delivery, owing to the fact that they would not have had sufficient space for storage and a myriad of all other reasons that they would have raised. So what initially came out in the public, which was worrying, and I think it was also a preface of this interview, that we are in court for non-delivery. That is not accurate, because the vehicles have been delivered. It has been confirmed even in court. Part of those vehicles have also been given to beneficiaries who are now benefiting from this tender that is now before the courts. And from the best of our knowledge, and maybe we'll be educated as we move along, is that there has not been anyone, at least from those that we understand who have been beneficiaries of this specific contract, who would have complained or raised an issue of harm. So it was going to be interesting to see, because a case of fraud is necessitated by prejudice. It is necessitated by someone having suffered harm. So maybe we'll be educated more fully as the case proceeds and progresses.
Okay, so 200 vehicles were delivered.
Yes.
Is it your understanding as well that this contract was valued at just over 27 million rand?
Yes, actually, Clement, I took the time to also bring in what would have been a tender submission of EnviroMobi at the time. What I would always have done throughout is that where I'm involved in such processes, either by way of the patents that I would have developed, I always make sure that I kept records, so that later on, if such things have to be clarified, because sometimes facts tend to be missed. I mean, I saw the statement of the SIU raising a number of things.
Which we'll get to them.
Yes.
Let me just go step by step. So 200 vehicles delivered at just over 27 million rand. How much was the vehicle, one vehicle, costing?
Well, basically, Clement, I wouldn't really have all the substantive details in that way, because the 27 million or whatever amount that you are apportioning did not just have to do with the purchase of the vehicles. Part of that had to do with project management. Part of that had to do because to drive.
But why is Pule Mabe not going down to the same papers that he came with? Because he says that this is the papers of the tenders. This is the tender submission. Why can't he just go through that tender submission so that he can tell us that one 3-wheeler bike actually cost this much? It is not that hard to do, because he already came with the papers. Why is he not going to the papers so that he can tell us that, okay, we manufactured one 3-wheeler bike with this much? It is not so hard to do.
A motorized 3-wheeler, one has got to be licensed. So it's a ballpark that EnviroMobi would have submitted as part of their submission, but that included all of the activities that would have been part of the RFP issued by GDAT at the time.
Okay. The SIU in that statement that you mentioned are saying that the company EnviroMobi was paid before the goods were delivered. Can you help clarify that? Because they're saying the provincial government actually paid the monies before the goods were delivered, which contradicts the principle of the contract that there had to be a delivery of services. So when you say 200 vehicles were delivered, were those delivered after the payment was already made or before?
Well, maybe, and this will deal with some of the issues that you may, or the viewers may require clarity on, which is of necessity. These vehicles that we are now saying were delivered, the delivery actually talks to when the department took possession for vehicles that would have been stored at Suikerbos for over 2 years, at a point when EnviroMobi would have written more than one letter to different HODs at GDAT. I mean, effectively under the contract, in question, there would have been 3 HODs. There would have been the one HOD who left. There would have been Mr. Nkontwana, Dr. Nkontwana. I can't really remember the designation. And there would have been Matilda, who was the third. But there's a record to that effect where EnviroMobi had written to GDAT to take possession. So 2 years afterwards, when the cars have already been sitting in storage, in 2018 at some point, remember 2018, the beginning of 2018, there was hailstorm. So some of the cars were damaged by hailstorm. And ourselves as original equipment manufacturers would have had to carry the honors of making sure that the cars are fixed. Hence, there would have been a consistent writing of letters to the department for them to take possession.
Okay, hold on. Just to clarify, are you saying that the department spent millions of rands on vehicles that they never took possession of? So it's like me, I go to buy a car. I buy my car and I don't take it.
And then you put it, then it stays in a garage.
For 2 years.
For 2 years. And after
just like with Pala Pala.
2 years, when you are taking it after 2 years, even the people that delivered the car to you are even arrested. That they did not deliver. But where were they supposed to have delivered in 2 years? Because when we talk about the notion of prepayment, which is not necessarily an act of criminality, because it actually constitutes an accounting irregularity, we have to then establish how this issue is captured in their own financials. Because from the very onset, EnviroMobi had since said and has spoken, and this is on record, asking the department to take possession of the vehicles. So
why did the department not take possession of the vehicles that you paid for?
The department will be best placed to respond. I thought
How many letters did you write to the department? How did you escalate the matter? I mean, it's weird to me, Pule, that so much money is spent on the goods.
Yes.
And the goods, it's like pala pala. Someone comes and buys cattle for so much money, and then they don't come to collect the cattle, or the delivery is not being made. Well, it doesn't really make sense. And as the company, then what do you do with the money that you've been paid? Do you use that money?
No, but remember this, and now it.
Of course, it sounds like Pala Pala. I mean, it sounds like Pala Pala. It sounds like Pala Pala. And if you listen to this matter of Pule Mabe, it sounds like maybe this is something that the government and Pule Mabe just wanted to do so that they can get the money. Because what is the proper reason for that? Why would the government spend so much money and not collect the vehicles? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? This is the same reason why we are still saying that Ramaphosa, it does not make sense why that person paid for those livestock and not collect them. You say that those millions that were found in your farm, they belonged to Hazim Mustafa, that billionaire from Sudan. And this is the same person who did not even collect that stuff. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why would someone take out millions to buy livestock and not collect them? This is the same case with Pule Mabe. He says that the department spent millions and millions of rands, but they could not collect those tax. It doesn't make sense.
It brings us to a very interesting point that has been done. I saw the statement of the SIU, and what they were seeking to do was to really establish the trace of money. What monies went what monies did when they landed into accounts.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later, but it's very important just to brush it so that when we come in,
I want to understand what you did as EnviroMobi. So if I've been paid monies, the department is clearly refusing to come collect what they've paid for 2 years. What I would do is probably just return the money.
No, I think, Clement, maybe the word you are using, refuse, might not be entirely accurate.
What's the appropriate word?
Well,
you're saying you've written them letters and they were not responding?
No, I'm not saying they are not responding. We wrote to them, EnviroMobi wrote to them letters, because EnviroMobi had a team. And the team of EnviroMobi was interacting with the department. I was made aware of all of the facts by EnviroMobi, because when this thing was now hitting public attention, requiring that I also make and submit responses to the SIU, I needed to also make sure that I'm clarified more fully about the facts. One, when in Enviromobi, and this is to the best of my understanding, so they would not have just simply returned the money because the cars were procured, the cars were bought. So now when you return the money, what do you do with the 200 cars?
What explanation did they get from the government?
Well, I'm sure I wouldn't want to enter the space of what government would have said and all of that.
But it implicates you. You have
No, but of course, like, you have to tell us what the department said, because you said that you wrote them letters. So you wrote them letters to say that, guys, we still have your cars. Why are you not collecting your cars? So what did the department say? What did the department say? He says that, no, this is not something that I would like to get into. But it implicates you.
have to worry about that.
No, don't. I think
because it helps us. It doesn't. Do you understand how wild it sounds to viewers now that a government that doesn't have money, doesn't swim in money, it paid millions to someone for goods and services, but they don't take those goods and services for 2 years. That sounds very dodgy. So as a company, it's your responsibility to say, hold on, you guys are going to get us into trouble here. You can't be giving us monies and you don't take...
Well, I'm sure, Clement, you'd respect this point. And here on this one, I'm advised both by my legal team and by the Lordship in court to try maintain silence, especially on matters that are ventilated before court. That issue is one of those issues that belong to the province of sub judice.
Okay.
So when we get to court, Enviromobi, ourselves, as charged persons, will have an opportunity to then deposit our understanding and also share our own evidence on what will have the letters, the record you are asking for. Yeah. So those will be disclosed.
Do you understand that? I hear that. You understand it doesn't make sense that the government rushed to pay you guys because did they pay you once you've delivered or before you delivered?
We had already delivered the cars. Okay, let me clarify the notion of maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe the SIU, when it speaks in court, when material evidence is presented, the SIU will then say to us, because they are the complainant in this case, and as a complainant, when we ask for disclosures, they will have to tell us that as soon as the cars were procured, where were we expected to deliver them, where they say we have not delivered.
They're saying the contract said we'll pay upon the delivery of the goods and services.
So they must then explain where were the cars supposed to be delivered.
But you signed the contract, you were part of Enviromobi. There's no way you don't know when you signed the contract that the delivery is,
I think,
and this is what the contract says.
I think, Clement, there are issues of materiality around the question, which I wouldn't want to enter into. There is sufficient explanation on the part of those that were involved actively on the part of Enviromobi. They've deposed that as part of their own affidavits in the case. Also, because we are being told when we asked the question on who the complainant is, we're then made aware that the complainant is the SIU, that the case was opened in 2020, that the SIU acted on the basis of a complaint that was initially raised with them by the Gauteng Audit Services, whom we understand, or it is alleged, would have gone to the plant and just by way of sweeping through, concluded that there were either 6 cars or so, without asking anyone, without being led by anyone, without necessarily... But all these things will be ventilated in court. You see, Clement...
Just to clarify something.
And guys, by the way, this is what Pule Mabe is going to say whenever he does not want to answer anything. So I am just preparing you. Whenever Pule Mabe is trying to avoid anything, this is what he's going to say.
You don't remember that the contract you signed said there must be payment upon delivery?
Look, whether I remember or not, it's immaterial. And I'll tell you why I'm saying it's immaterial.
Tell me what you remember.
No, Clement. Let me tell you. I know and remember everything about this contract.
Because if you remember that the contract said the payment happens upon delivery, then you would realize why it's problematic that the government gives you money before you've delivered the goods and services.
But who said we didn't deliver? It's the SIU. So they must tell us...
No, you told me now that the vehicles were not delivered in 2 years.
I'm saying the vehicles were kept in the... It's good that you asked the question again, because I was going to leave here with someone confused out there not understanding. I said the vehicles were kept in possession of Enviromobi for that period.
So they were not delivered in 2 years?
They were not delivered at a location that the department would have said.
No, Pule, they were not delivered to the department.
No, it's not
Don't
true.
say location. When they were in your position for 2 years, was that in possession of the department?
Yes.
Or in possession of environment?
No, how can they be in your position? How can they be in the position of the department? They are in your position.
No, let me clarify the question. And I think after clarifying this one, I would prefer that we move out on this one. I'm not going to tell you which questions you must ask me. You are welcome to ask the question if you want clarity on it.
So were they in possession of the department or Enviromobi?
They were in possession of the department, but at our yard. The department knew that the cars are at our yard. Remember, Enviromobi did not, I think maybe to clarify this, Enviromobi did not keep the cars at its yard by force. Enviromobi made the department aware that your cars are here. Tell us where they need to be delivered, because these cars are here as a result of a procurement exercise that you had undertaken.
So they didn't take them then? They were still in the position of yours? They didn't take them to use them for the benefit and for the for the reason that they signed on?
I'm sure that the department can clarify themselves.
Why was the government paying your company for storage of the same vehicles?
Because Enviromobi would not have procured 200 cars and
company for storage of the same vehicles
because Enviromobi would not have procured 200 cars and put them there for itself if they did not have a client. In this instance, the 200 cars were assembled at the back of an order by the Gauteng Department of Agriculture. If Department of Agriculture did not procure the cars, there would not have been a need to assemble those cars because they would not have had a customer.
So the department pays millions of rands for vehicles. They don't take them. Instead, they give you an extra 6 million rand and say, oh, take this so that you can store these very goods and services that now belong to us because we've paid for them.
I think the department is at liberty to answer for themselves.
Do you see how weird that sounds? That's so.
But of course, it sounds weird, guys. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. It sounds weird, man. It really sounds weird.
Well,
it really sounds weird, man.
Well, I'm not the spokesperson of the department.
It really does. Okay, guys, let me get this person off. Maybe.
The order by the Gauteng Department of Agriculture. If Department of Agriculture did not procure the cars, there would not have been a need to assemble those cars because they would not have had a customer.
So the department pays millions of rands for vehicles. They don't take them. Instead, they give you an extra 6 million rand and say, oh, take this so that you can store these very goods and services that now belong to us because we've paid for them.
I think the department is at liberty to answer for themselves. I'm not.
Do you see how weird that sounds? That's so dodgy.
Well, I'm not the spokesperson of the department. The department can speak for itself. I came in so that I can clarify issues that really related to my own activities in this instance, and to also rebut some of the wrongful allegations that are made. There are wrong allegations that are made. For instance, a review application put forward by the SIU to set aside this contract at the tribunal makes some glaring allegations to the extent that the reason why the cars were not registered is because they don't have VIN numbers. Now, this is materially flawed. This is not true, but this is said in an affidavit. I have requested our lawyers to actually look into all these areas of inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Because, Clement, here is one reality. We must also establish whether our charging achieved the correct threshold, because the truth was placed before the NPA on what happened. An impression was created out in society that we're wearing balaclavas here, committing a crime knowingly.
Yeah.
That is not true. Because, so there's a lot of things that are coming out of the statements that are already placed on record in the review applications, which are not true.
One of the things is that there's monies that your wife received. Your wife was the director of Invest
Yes.
Trading. She received 4.5 million rand from EnviroMobi.
Yes.
Why did she receive money from your company?
Because it's not EnviroMobi, it's not my company, by the way. Let me correct that.
Didn't you start that company?
I started it, but
So what do you mean? It's not your company.
But there was a director when I resigned as a director.
Yeah, but that can still remain your company. There are people who...
Okay, that's fine. I'm just placing it on record that EnviroMobi is not my company. I've since resigned, but we were, as in my company called Riverlocks, were trading actively with EnviroMobi because EnviroMobi was buying the vehicles. Tleki, my wife, who owns Invest, basically provided a number of services.
Like what?
Remember that those things will be detailed in court when they are ventilated. She has got invoices on all those services. Unfortunately, up until when we were charged, my wife never knew that she's going to be called on this thing. If the
And guys, you know, listening to Pule Mabe, this whole thing, I don't know if I'm pushing it, but it kind of sounds like that issue of VBS. Because if you really listen to it, Pule Mabe is trying to distance himself from the EnviroMobi. He says that, no, EnviroMobi, it is not my company. I have resigned from this company. I have another company. So this company of his, it is the one that is trading with EnviroMobi, and his wife, she also has her own company that is working with EnviroMobi. So it looks like EnviroMobi, it is a company that is actually getting the money from the government, and this money from the, and this company gets the money from the government. It actually takes that money and it flows to these two companies, the company of Pule Mabe and the company of his wife. It sounds exactly like that deal of the VBS, because right now he says that, of course, I started EnviroMobi, but EnviroMobi is not my company. It's not my company because I have resigned. I have my own company that is working with EnviroMobi. My wife, she has her own company that is working with EnviroMobi. So what does it tell you? When these people want money from the state, they go with EnviroMobi. After the money has been awarded to EnviroMobi, they take that money with their other companies. This is exactly what is happening here. This is exactly what is happening here. It sounds like fraud. It sounds like fraud. Honestly. Because right now he is distancing himself from the same company that he started. How can you distance yourself from the same company that you started, and to say that, no, I still do business with the same company that I started, but it is no longer my company because I have resigned from it. My wife still does business with the same company that I started, but I am no longer the owner of. So to be clear, EnviroMobi, it is a company that Pule Mabe and his wife uses to secure the tenders from the state. And EnviroMobi, it is a company that actually gives these other two companies money. This is what it sounds like to me.
SIU had, the same way they invited us to answer certain questions, should have clarified them. There was nothing being concealed. EnviroMobi did not work under a tree. EnviroMobi worked from an office. EnviroMobi photocopied documents. EnviroMobi was provided all
So what
other...
services did your wife provide to EnviroMobi?
Well, I think that question will clarify in court. Well,
you can't tell me that your wife is a chartered accountant or was giving consultancy services to maybe look at the engine of those vehicles.
No.
You don't want to talk about that?
Don't worry. She did provide a service. She's a charged person. She may prefer to answer these questions herself.
Outside court, you said that, why are they criminalizing us giving monies to our wives?
Yes, I asked that question.
Is this the money you were giving to your wives?
No. So basically, Clement, let's start here. I think because we are going too far you are starting with what monies do when they get into the account. Let's first establish, were this monies a source of a crime? Certainly no. If EnviroMobi did not win a contract with GDAT to provide certain services that its associate companies would have provided for the furtherance and fulfillment of the contract that it had, EnviroMobi would not have received money from GDAT. Let's start there. Why did EnviroMobi receive money from GDAT?
Because you are Pule Mabe, you are the owner of EnviroMobi, you are the ANC NEC member, meaning that you are close with the people that are running Gauteng. So you cannot sit there and pretend like EnviroMobi got the tenders legitimately from the Gauteng Department of Agriculture. Of course, you cannot say that. You are Pule Mabe, you are close to your ANC comrades that are running Gauteng. You are close to your ANC comrades that are running Gauteng, and this is the same. This is one of the things that SIU is going to pin you on. The fact that you are an ANC member who sees no conflict of interest with the dealings that you are making with the Gauteng Department of Agriculture. So he sees no conflict of interest. Him being an ANC member, him being an ANC NEC member, doing business with the state, and the state was being run by the ANC at the time. The ANC was the one governing the country with a majority by the time. He sees no conflict of interest. He says that, why did EnviroMobi get the money? They got the money because you are close to the people that are governing Gauteng. You are close to the people that are governing Gauteng.
EnviroMobi received money from GDAT because there was this tender. And once EnviroMobi won this tender, legitimately so.
No, we don't know if you won the tender legitimately so. I would argue that you didn't win the tender legitimately so. I would argue that. I would argue that. Imagine an ANC man, an ANC NEC man, telling you that his company got the tender from the state legitimately so. His company, an ANC NEC guy, telling you that my company got the tender from the state legitimately so. Just imagine Fikile Mbalula telling you that I submitted the papers for the tenders and the state gave me the tender legitimately so. So Pule Mabe wants to pretend like he is just an outside man who had no influence about this tender. He wants to pretend like I had no influence. Everything is on this paper. Guys, we are not stupid. Come on, man. We are not stupid.
It provided the service.
And the services only arrived 2 years later.
No. The services were there. Okay, let me, maybe to clarify the question so that we don't confuse your viewers. The department had gone to satisfy itself. When it was doing these payments, the department had gone to satisfy itself that the assets are there. There is no way. Actually, again, another wrongful allegation is made that even when Eguru Lane paid for the vehicles were not there. So all these things are far-fetched because at the time when these payments were being made, the vehicles were there, letters were written to the relevant department to come and take possession of the vehicles.
And they didn't.
Beneficiaries were trained on how to operate the vehicles.
But they didn't have the vehicles.
So, no, they
were sitting with you in your storage where you were being paid. That's what you confirmed.
No,
didn't you say they paid
Clement,
for storage?
Clement, I'm saying, as we speak, so that we are also careful not to create a narrative that is not entirely factual out there. I'm here. I'm not Jan van Riebeck. I can best represent myself.
Did the department pay you 6 million rand to store the vehicles?
Well, EnviroMobi brought up a claim for the storage of the vehicles.
That's it. I didn't create any narrative. That's exactly what I just said now. But go back to your question of your wife. When you said we're being criminalized for sending monies to our wives, the SIU was talking about this 4.5 million rand that came from EnviroMobi into your wife's company. This is why I wanted to know, was that you saying that's the money you were paying for your wife, or were you referring to other monies?
Okay, let me say this so that I think, look, I don't want us to waste time dealing with the other question because I have got a different version of what was said here. Let's start here. there was a tender issued, so that we don't go into substantive issues. You get paid by the SABC. You decide what you do with your money. We don't come and say, Clement, part of your salary paid for your trip. This salary is what you earned legitimately. Let's start at the core. A tender was issued by the Gauteng Department of Agriculture. So did EnviroMobi not perform according to that tender? Did EnviroMobi not deliver the goods that were wanted?
You've already clarified
yes.
that.
Of course, of course, the state is about to prove that. Of course, they are about to prove that you used your influence. Now, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm being hard on Pule Mabe, but I honestly don't believe that Pule Mabe won that tender legitimately. I honestly don't believe so.
No, but I'm saying, as to what happens when the money gets into the account, because we were not told in this tender that part of what we must do is that we must also produce statements of how monies are used when they get into account. If we were told that also present us with a financial statement of how you are going to execute on this money, so we're going to do so. So you give people a tender is accepted based on what you can do. Now, so the threshold that we should be measured against is that, did government suffer any harm? Did we not deliver on what we said we'll do?
Government did suffer harm. There was a regular expenditure. Government that doesn't have money, they spent money on products that were staying in the storage for 2 years.
I'm hearing this from you, but I'm saying EnviroMobi.
No, this is what you said. You said it yourself that the vehicles stayed in your storage. You said it yourself.
Responded to a tender.
Okay.
EnviroMobi was awarded a tender. Based on the award of that tender, EnviroMobi performed. Okay. For instance, before we conclude on this one, Clement, because I'm not going to be doing a running commentary on this. It was out of respect that I agreed to come. I still want to clarify one point. We did not wear any balaclavas, hid our identity, and said to someone, pay us money. All the monies that were paid to EnviroMobi and how EnviroMobi subsequently used that money, government itself got value from that. Someone must tell me that government paid money, but government did not get the service. Then it's a different debate. But now, to then say, once you are paid money, what do you do with money that gets into account? It's the same question. Does the SABC ask you what you do with your salary when it gets into account?
Yeah, Pule Mabe, they're killing me. I'm out of time. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks.
But guys, something is not adding up here. Something is not adding up here. So Pule Mabe got the tender from the Department of Agriculture in Gauteng to provide with 200 three-wheeler bicycles. And Pule Mabe delivered just half of that. And the other one, they stayed in his storage. So the government paid him 6 million rand to actually store those vehicles in his space. But guys, something does not add up here. Something is not adding up here. I'm telling you, something is not adding up here. And Pule Mabe is now saying that EnviroMobi is not his company, the same company that he started. And when EnviroMobi paid 4 million rands to his wife's company, he says that now we are being persecuted for giving our wives money. So when you say that, meaning that you acknowledge that EnviroMobi is your company, because this company is the one that gave your wife 4.5 million rand. But now you are saying, no, EnviroMobi is not my company. I have my own company that is doing business with EnviroMobi. Guys, something is not adding up here. Something is not adding up here, and Pule Mabe is going to jail. Something is not adding up here, and Pule Mabe is going to jail. Guys, please tell me what you think on the comment sections. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part is subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Bye bye.